Hi, this is Seema and I'm back with a new lesson on idioms expressing emotions. Well, emotions are something that we go through every day, whether we are happy or sad or just plain angry. So it is very important that we know how to express our emotions in the right way. And therefore, I came up with some very interesting idioms to make sure you do it the right way. The first idiom talks about being very angry. Well, have you ever been in a position where you are so angry that you want to kill someone? Well, there is an expression or an idiom that talks about being angry. So when you are angry, you can say that I blew my top. So the idiom is to blow one's top. So I can say that I blew my top when the traffic police got me, even though I did not run a signal. Another way of expressing anger is to say that you threw a fit. You could say, my father threw a fit when I dropped his cell phone, which was very expensive. So these are the expressions or idioms which talk about being very angry. And our next idiom is to get cold feet. Well, what expression or what emotion are we talking about? We're talking about fear or being very scared. So when I say that I get cold feet, I'm talking about being very scared or maybe being very anxious. So I could say that my friend got cold feet just minutes before she had to do her parachute jump. Or I get cold feet, a couple of minutes before giving my test, my math test. We all get cold feet when we give our math test, don't we? So that's what, being scared or getting cold feet is all about. And our next expression talks about being very frustrated. So when I'm talking about being very frustrated, I'm actually telling myself or someone else that I am sick and tired of a particular thing. So I could say that I am sick and tired of doing a 9-to-5 job. I'm sick and tired of taking care of all the mess around the house. I'm talking about being very frustrated. And our next expression relates to remembering a thing. So when you want to remember something, you say that something rings a bell. So I could say that this story that I've heard rings a bell about what happened the other day. So it relates or brings to memory a certain event. So ringing a bell is nothing but remembering a thing from something else. So I could say that the movie I watched rang a bell about an incident that occurred last evening. That's what remembering or ringing a bell is all about. Our next expression is hate someone's guts. Well, this is quite self-explanatory because we talk about hate or really disliking someone a lot. So when I'm talking about an intense dislike or really hating something a lot, I would say that I hate someone's guts. A lot of you hate your boss's guts. A lot of you hate your parents' guts when they really, shout at you, don't you? So hating someone's guts is all about not liking something or not liking a particular person. Now let's have a look at another 5 idioms expressing emotions. Our next idiom is giving someone the cold shoulder. Well, what does that literally mean? Giving the cold shoulder is expressing rejection or when you ignore someone. So if you want to ignore or if you want to really reject someone or maybe avoid someone, you call that giving them the cold shoulder. So I could say something that, something like, my friend always gave her colleagues the cold shoulder because she was really proud. So when you give someone the cold shoulder, you kind of think that you are, a little bit up there. You're a little better than everyone else. So that's why you ignore, reject, or try to avoid people who you think are not as good as you are. And our next expression is being down in the dumps. Well, what does this expression talk about? The emotion that we are talking about is being sad, or when you have a lot of grief, or to put it very plainly, we're talking about someone who is being very depressed. So I could say something that people are always down in the dumps when there is a recession. People are always down in the dumps when they have been unemployed for a very long period of time. So being down in the dumps is nothing but being very sad, wallowing in grief, and being quite depressed. And we have another idiom, which is being worried sick. Well, as the expression itself talks about the word worry, we're talking about the emotion of being very worried or being very anxious, or almost being panic-stricken. So when I say I am worried sick about my children, or my mother was worried sick when I did not come up until 2 in the morning. So we're talking about being very anxious, being very worried, being almost panic-stricken. And our next expression is to be bored to death. Well, as the word again talks about, the emotion that is being expressed here is of absolute boredom. You're just tired, you're sick of it. Okay, so when I say I'm bored to death of the story being told to me, or I'm bored to death of taking this test, or I'm bored to death of being in this class for over 2 hours. So you're talking about something that does not interest you at all. You are really, really bored. Okay, and our last expression, which will show the best emotion we all like to feel, and that's being very, very happy. So when you are very happy, the expression that you are going to talk about is in seventh heaven. So you could say that when I went to the picnic or the park, I was in seventh heaven. When I went for my first drive in my new car, I was in seventh heaven. When the kids went out to the zoo, they were in seventh heaven. So you talk about being very happy, very elated, and very, very, in a very good place. Yeah. So that brings me to the end of this lesson on idioms expressing emotions. Well, I'll be back with some new lessons. Until then, this is me saying goodbye.